2, 1, go! Okay, let's see. So we're starting out with number 45, Cystis x Purpurias, otherwise known as the orchid rock rose. I think orchid is, certainly we know it's a plant, but I think it may also refer to this color, this sort of like pinky lavender kind of. Anyway, so these red spots are also kind of distinctive for this variety. And then I saw this picture, and I think if we were to look up close, we might see those red spots as well. But this is a cultivar called Alan-Frad, to show the whole structure of the plant, the size of it and stuff. But this has white petals, obviously. Anyway, so the orchid rock rose. So these plants, I'm very impressed, actually. I've planted them before. We have them in front of my son's elementary school. And they're growing really well. And I've seen them around, and I knew what they were, but they're pretty, but I never really knew that they were also super duper practical. They're just really hardy. They're like one of those things, you need, especially if you're a landscaping person, that you want to have in your toolkit because they grow in really dry, really kind of miserable places and do well. And they're really pretty. They have lots of flowers throughout much of the hotter parts of the year. So evergreen, they don't lose the leaves. Opposite and simple with a little bit of a rough surface. And this is just directly copied, cut and pasted with quotes from Wikipedia. The leaves, now this is not true of this species. This is true of all of the things in the genus Cystis. So C. ledanifer has this resin, but that's not true of this Purpurias. 5-petaled flowers ranging from white to purple and dark pink, and then in a few species like this one, a conspicuous red spot at the base of the petal. So apparently on dry slopes, they're good for controlling erosion, dry gardens, rock gardens, and other tough areas like the parking strip or, you know, like the side of the driveway or the garage or whatever. As long as it gets sun, they'll be happy. I mean, we can hope anyway. And so the zones, you know, we here in Pasadena are Sunset Zone 24, which can be kind of an extreme zone for a lot of plants. But these grow here. And they need low to no summer water, so that would also be really nice along with other California natives. These are not California natives, by the way. They're native to the Mediterranean, which is a great place to look for plants that will do well here because we have a Mediterranean climate. So if you want to expand beyond the traditional California natives, or include things like rosemary and lavender and cistus and other things that are from the Mediterranean region, like olives. I don't remember who did the olive report, but things that are from the Mediterranean also do well here. We have a similar climate. 4 feet tall and wide, so they're nice, decent sized shrub, mid-sized shrub, and great for pollinators. Something that I did note is that you don't want to prune them hard or they might die. So just a little bit of pruning on the tips of the shoots. If the plant gets old or really woody, like I lost a lavender, in fact, recently, it just failed. It just was really, really woody all over it, and then it just died. I think it's old age. Plants do that too. And then I showed you the pictures before, but there you've got these leaves. They're kind of linear and a little bit rough. The flower, I think we started out with that. Even the bud has like a little bit of that kind of roughness to it, and then the structure of it right there. So Cystis purpureus in the Malvales, along with other plants that are like in the Malvaceae family, and some other familiar things. And then the Cystaceae is its family, the orchid rock rose. And then moving right along, I don't know how to say this. I'm going to call it Cotoneaster, right? Maybe it's a Cotoneaster. Cottony? No, Cotoneaster. Whatever. I'm going to call it a Cotoneaster because I don't know. Horizontalis, meaning it grows like horizontally, and this is a rose. What? She says, it's not going to be a rose. It's totally a rose. It's in the rose family and in the rose order. And I'll show you. No, you're still not going to believe me. This is a rose flower. This looks like apples, plums, cherries, which are all roses, by the way, pears, peaches, they all look like that, and a whole bunch of other things in the rose family. Now, if you're thinking, but that doesn't look like, you know, like Valentine's roses, you're right, because those have been completely bred so that every single one of these little stamens has turned into a petal. So they get like 108 plus petaled roses, which make these beautiful, I don't have one to show you, but this is not a rose, but sometimes people call it a well, where is it? The ranunculus. It's got a kind of a similar, like a rose of winter. That's silly. That's not even remotely related, but it is rose-like. Lots of petals. Okay, that's usually from getting bred for horticulture and the floral trade and all that kind of stuff. Because we people, we like petals, so we want flowers that have a lot of petals. Anyway, but we're back to Ketotiaster right here. See these little shiny leaves? They're quite small, like maybe that big, and really bright. Not toothed, you know, like parallel veins it looks like in there. I probably have to see it in person though to see that. Rose flowers followed by, really, if you look up close, you can totally imagine these are tiny little apples. Okay, which makes sense. Different genus, but Rosaceae family, so there are some family resemblances, okay? So like little tiny apples, followed by very decorative little red fruit that the birds like to eat. This is what it looks like growing against a wall. I'd be curious to know like what sort of sun exposure and stuff that has, but it's very happy there. And what else about this plant? Useful, if not striking, like, okay. Does that mean, yeah, like, does that mean they were surprised that it was not ugly? Like, or that, I don't know, whatever. It does lose its leaves though, but Sunset says that that's just for a brief period. And that's what they said. Yep. And then it reveals that the branches actually, it describes them as being very attractive. I don't remember exactly, like, not quite origami, but something about how they come together, whatever. But that means it's pretty even when it doesn't have the leaves. So it does, like Sunset said, this grows to be 15 feet wide. It's short growing, 2 to 3 feet, but like 15 feet wide is like really, really big. But other things, places I checked online said like 8 feet wide. So I don't know, grow it and find out. But it did say that it gets, I think Sunset, maybe it was a website, I don't remember, said that it gets hacked for like, you know, paths, like that it's going to grow over the path, so again, then it gets hacked, making it far less attractive. So you just want to plant it in a place where it can grow. Showy red fruit attracts birds. Happy here in zone 24. Full sun, very low to moderate water, and it does need well-drained soil, so it's adapted to our climate. It's native to China. There we go. Yeah, I think we got that. Yep. Glossy ovate leaves, yeah, followed by red fruit, and there's the whole thing. Next up is the Sago palm, Cycus revoluta. Now, how would you know that this wasn't really a palm? Well, if you saw this, that would be a big indicator that this is not what you think it is. Because, you know, the trunk of this looks kind of like some of the other palms that we've seen. But if you look up at where the leaves are coming out of the trunk, that's pretty different than the palms. Also, it's much shorter. I mean, it could be a short palm or an immature palm, but you know, this gets to be like 10 feet tall at maturity, and it's very slow growing. So Cycus revoluta in the Cycadaceae, I think there's another Cycus that's native to a different place. This one is native to Japan. But it's a very small family, and I think it's the only family in the genus, the only family in the order Cycadophyta. Anyway, so low growing up to 10 feet and very slow as it's maturing. It's squat trunk, I put that word in there because that's what it looks like to me. And then with those pinnates, remember pinnate's like a feather, the axis is long. And then I say palm-like, which is super confusing. I don't mean palm like my hand, like palmate. I mean like a palm tree. But I'm going to take that out because that's confusing. Sorry. With pinnate leathery leaves 2 to 3 feet long, and then I'll add it in there later, that it looks similar to a palm. Appearance is similar to a palm. Or like a fern. It also mentions that when it's young, it has kind of a fern-like look. Hopefully not to you or other botanically inclined people. People like this in a landscape because it's not messy like palms can be. They drop really heavy palm fronds. It creates kind of a tropical effect because I guess it's from tropical places, right? Although this one can actually tolerate like minus 10 degrees. I think I saw that. But it certainly gives kind of a jungly looking appearance. Zones, yep, 24, that's us. I don't know what H1 and H2, maybe it's Hawaii, not 100% sure about that. It tolerates partial shade. It doesn't want bright sun, and it said regular water, which kind of surprised me. I would have assumed it was drought tolerant, but apparently not so much. 10 feet, didn't give a width, but if the leaves are about 3 feet long and you've got like a whole diameter of 3-foot long leaves, it's going to be about like 7 feet wide. We'll add that in there later. Oh, let's just put it right there. Okay. These have been around for a long time. They were around when there were dinosaurs. Sunset says they're also good for bonsai, and they make a good house plant. I'm like, what? Or for a patio, like a planter on a patio, which surprises me, but I mean, I wouldn't know because I couldn't afford one of these because they're ridiculously expensive to buy them too. There we go. But especially if you have high-end landscaping clients, you ought to know about the palms. What am I saying? The cycads. And there's the picture again, Cycus revoluta, the Sago palm, which is super confusing because it's not at all a palm. But that's it for today for me. Over and out.